Hello, this is Ben Payton, and you are listening to The Bill Podcast. Brought to you in association with GeorgeFairbrother.com, McGoldrickWatchRepairs.com, and Misty Moon Events. For over 60 hours of exclusive The Bill-related content, including reunion highlights, cast and crew commentaries, reaction videos, pilgrimage location videos, off-the-beat bonus podcasts, and much more. Join the investigation from £2.49 a month at patreon.com/The Bill Podcast.
Hello and welcome to The Bill Podcast, episode 106. For the last 5 years, I've done my best to treat you all to a Christmas special podcast with one very special guest. This year, thanks to our friends and sponsors Misty Moon Events, you get 3 Christmas special podcasts with 8 special guests, as we are pleased to present highlights from The Bill Reunion 7, which took place at London's Cinema Museum on Saturday, November the 12th, 2022. It was, in my humble opinion, the greatest reunion held so far, to a packed and appreciative audience with a stellar lineup on stage. These events really have become the hottest ticket in town for Bill fans, and at the end of this podcast I'll be telling you how to book tickets for the Bill Reunion 8, which will be taking place on Saturday the 15th of April 2023. These tickets do sell very fast indeed, so make sure you book early. Selling even quicker are tickets for Suzanne Maddock from Liverpool to London via the rest of the world, which is Suzanne's upcoming one-woman theatre show, where as well as discussing her life and career and how she landed the role of Cass Rickman, she will also be singing, which she talks about in her interview, which you'll be hearing shortly. You won't want to miss this one-off show, also being produced by Misty Moon Events. It's taking place in the afternoon at 3 o'clock on Saturday 29th of January 2023 at the Phoenix Arts Club in Leicester Square. There's a link in the description of this podcast, and I'll also be reading out the website to book tickets at the end of this podcast. Before we begin, I must say a huge thank you to both Phil Clark and Graham Gurtner, the technical team at the Cinema Museum, who not only organised all the sound and the lighting, they very kindly, as a bonus, recorded the Q&A so that we'd be able to share the evening with those of you who weren't able to attend. So huge thanks to Phil and Graham, who were brilliant support on what was a very special evening. In part 1 of this Christmas special, you'll be hearing the first half hour of the Q&A featuring Suzanne Maddock, Lisa Geoghan and Tom Butcher, plus a very special guest who was a bonus guest on the night, one of the longest serving The Bill directors, Mr. John Bruce. So here we go, highlights from Misty Moon Events The Bill Reunion 7, which after a lovely video introduction edited by Mr. Martin Rudman, the evening opened with the main man himself taking to the stage, the curator of Misty Moon, executive producer and sponsor of the Bill podcast, Mr. Stuart Morris, who began the evening by paying tribute to a long-term supporter of Misty Moon and fan of the Bill, Mr. Jeff Lloyd, who sadly passed away earlier this year.
Hello folks, welcome to the beautiful Cinema Museum and Misty Moon's The Bill Reunion 7. As you can see, tonight is dedicated to our friend, and a lot of you probably would recognise him. He used to come to all our Bill reunions and he used to help out at Misty Moon, Jeff Lloyd. Now, he passed away a couple of weeks ago after a very short illness, and when I say very short illness, literally 3 weeks. And so he was a big fan of the Bill, but more Graham. And a couple of years ago, he said the best thing he'd want for his birthday was for us to take Graham just to the pub, his local pub, to have a drink with him. But we went one better. So we took Graham down there, who did his one-man show. And I've never seen one man, Jeff himself, running around looking so happy that he had his hero and his icon in his local pub. So this is for you tonight, Jeff. Right, with no further ado, I'm going to bring up my partner in crime for tonight. You all know him as the Bill historian, Oliver Crocker.
Thank you, mate. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cinema Museum. And my huge thanks to Stuart and Jen for inviting me back to co-host this evening and for all your support of the Bill podcast. Stuart and Jen, Misty Moon Events, are sponsors of the Bill podcast. And is Simon McGoldrick in here? Yes, hello, sir. Simon McGoldrick is also a sponsor of the Bill podcast. He's a brilliant watch repairer. So if any of you ever need a watch repairing, Simon is your man. It's lovely to see you here, Simon. And thank you, Stuart and Jen. The Bill podcast, would you believe, it's been going 5 years and has now been played over 300,000 times. So thank you, all of you who support the podcast. And thank you to all of you who have given marvellous interviews. And we've got some fantastic memories to share with you this evening. We do have a special surprise guest because I thought I'd kick off with something a little bit special. Who in here remembers the episode Fatak? Robert Hudson gave a phenomenal performance as P.C. Yorkie Smith, who has to deal with a horrendous accident. And last year, the Billathon, which is a brilliant fan site, the fans voted it in a poll as the most memorable episode of The Bill ever made. And excitingly tonight, the director, John Bruce, is here to share a few memories about Fatak with you. So will you please give a huge round of applause and welcome Mr. John Bruce. Thank you so much for being here. Now, John is one of the longest-serving directors of The Bill. He worked on the series for 12 years, directed 33 episodes, and Fatak was your very first episode of The Bill. How did you feel about certainly going in at the deep end with this amazing, huge crash scene? Take us back. What are your memories of Fatak, John?
Well, firstly, it's a delight and an honour, actually, to be here. It's so fantastic. Fatak, what an incredible episode. What's so great about The Bill is that it's all believable. That's so vital, because now a lot of drama, I think, you just think, oh, come on, do me a favour, I just don't believe that. But with The Bill, I can honestly say that every episode is totally believable. And with Fatak, this was an incredible situation, as a lot of you will remember. A small car actually drove underneath a huge truck. But it was in a quiet area. It was on a bus route, but it was a very quiet area. And, of course, there were no police around. And so this particular policeman I'm talking about, he was called to this area to deal with the situation. There's this car underneath this huge lorry. And in the back window, there's baby on board. And as the bus was going through, the bus driver said, "That's my wife's car." And that, for me, was believable and absolutely horrific. A great episode. It's my favourite. It was brilliantly written. The crew was absolutely superb. Everything about it was absolutely spot on. And I'm so glad that I did it. Speaking personally about my time at the Bill, it did remind me, and don't get the wrong idea, it did remind me a lot of my army days. It was the whole kind of brotherhood and the friends and what you could do and how you could send up everybody, and it didn't matter a hell, You had a good time. There was a lot of that in the Bill, which I never really got in any other things that I worked on. What a great show to do, because they were all separate stories, but it was absolutely perfect. I loved working there. The restaurant was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. I loved the smoking room. But I gave all that up in 1996. I loved all that. It was a very, very special time. It was a high point of my career. The Bill was a high point of my career.
Let's hear it for John Bruce, ladies and gents. Thank you ever so much, John. Let's welcome up our next guest, ladies and gentlemen. A superb actress who, as well as giving knockout performances on the big and small screens, is about to take to the stage in her own brand new theatre show. She's still number 1 on the Bill podcast charts. Make some noise for the brilliant Suzanne Maddock.
Hi, everybody.
Misty Moon Events are putting on a special show in January with you. Tell us all about it.
Not many people know. I've always sort of struggled with admitting that I'm a singer. So before I was ever on the bill, which I did, as you probably know now, for those of you who've been here a few times, I never trained. I didn't go to drama school. I was sort of plucked from nowhere, really. I attended an interview with Alan Bleasdale and ended up getting the lead part in this film. And from there, it went on and on and on and on and worked with some major people. Before I was on the bill, I used to front a couple of bands. I was a singer. Literally the week before I got the bill, I auditioned with Benny and Bjorn from ABBA for Mamma Mia.
No.
And I was down to the last 5 girls as the daughter. And because I never did dance, I didn't train as an actor, I didn't get the part. And it went to a great girl who trained at Lipper, a Norwegian actress. She got the part in the first ever run of that. I've worked with Elvis Costello. I've done music with him. My band supported him in Liverpool because he's a great fan of Bleasdale, who's like a really good pal of mine. So we sort of got in the back door there a little bit. So yeah, I'm a singer, but I've never really done anything with it. I sing at home, drive my family mad. And, now and then we're on holiday and there's a karaoke and my husband goes, go on, get up. But if I've had a beer, I can't sing. So that's non-alcoholic. I don't drink if I'm going to perform in front of people. And I usually get up and I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but there's usually just people going. But I'm so nervous. Like, I really struggle with it. So I'm facing me fear. I'm going to do this show with Stuart and Jen, Misty Moon. Hopefully people will come. It's a bit like, Graham Cole's show that he does, So You Think You Know Me. It's like that, but it's me, not Graham. So I'm going to be doing quite a few songs, quite a few numbers, and hopefully everybody enjoys it.
And it's on 29th of January, 3 p.m. at the Phoenix Arts Club. And you're going to be talking about your career as well.
Yeah, it's not just me singing. It's about how I got there, really, to be on the bill, and a few jobs beyond that. But people don't know as well that I do a load of charity work. So while I was on the bill, it was Matt Crompton who... Sam Harker, who said we were in a dressing room next to each other, and he mentioned that he was going to go and climb Kilimanjaro. And I know we've done a podcast about this with Natalie Rolls and myself. So I did that. Then I went on and did Everest with my husband, who suffers with vertigo. So I got him to climb Mount Everest with me, wow. As you do. And I've tracked the Great Wall of China. I've run various marathons. John was just saying about the bill being a bit like the army. I think that's why I liked it. I think if I ever came back again, I'd definitely go into the armed forces, because I'm going for my black belt next year.
Wow.
So I do. I like a bit of combat. My poor husband. And yeah, and I love charity work. I've wanted to get on that SAS programme, the celebrity SAS, but I'm just not a celebrity anymore. I really haven't got a profile. They'd never pick me, but I think I'd be able to do it.
Well, I think the people in this room would disagree. I think you're a legend, so we need to make it happen. And something else you've been involved with, which is very close to your heart, is the Manx Beauty. Would you mind telling us all about the Manx Beauty?
Yeah, so that's it's more charity work, and it links in actually with Graham Cole's charity, which is PTSD 999. There's a great film that we had in the Misty Moon Film Festival last week, or a couple of weeks ago, for those of you who are here, called Broken Glass, that Graham starred in. And we've linked in the Manx Beauty, which I'll explain what that is, to PTSD 999. And what it is, my dad... and my granddad and his dad were all fishermen, so they were trawlermen. And we had a boat in our family from when I was a little girl. My granddad lived on it in Carnarvon in Wales. And this boat, it's got major historical significance. I won't go into the detail now, but basically it's one of a kind, and the build of it and the wood that was used, and it's 80 years old, this boat, and it's got loads of historical significance with the war and things like that. But it was built in Cellardyke up in Scotland. And then it travelled the world and ended up as my granddad's boat, then my dad's boat. So that boat is the reason I can't get on boats these days, because my dad used to take me out in like 4.7s, and I'd be like, so I hate boats now. But the Manx Beauty's been taken back to Cellardyke. We've donated it to the Cellardyke Trust, and it's being restored. So it's going through at the moment for lottery funding. So it needs a lot of money to restore it back to its natural glory. And it's actually going to be, once we get the funding, like a village boat that is for the arts, for theatre, for people in respite, for PTSD 999, to go and stay aboard. It will have theatre shows built around it, lots of Scottish music. And the most bizarre thing is, Andy Mack was born in Celadike, and he's now on board with it. Excuse the pun there. We're getting together and actually writing a song together about the Manx Beauty. And hopefully it will all just come together and slot together, and we get the funding. And in about 6 years' time, we'll be taking the boat around the country to all different festivals.
D.S. Gregg and Cass Rickman on a UK tour on a boat. That's fantastic. Well, the nice thing when you joined the bill as Cass Rickman, I mean, we talked about this, because you were a cast member who had grown up watching the bill. So you were working with these legends.
Well, I've always sort of, I've got, what do they call it, imposter syndrome. I suffered terribly with it. So I'm used to even sitting here now and I'm looking at, the faces of the people on the bill and thinking, why am I here with these people? It's really weird. So my first day on the bill, seeing Eric, Graham, Lisa, just was mind-blowing. Still is, it's just bizarre, the whole thing.
Well, let's get one of those legends up here now, one of the staples of the bill, an absolutely fantastic actress who sent Twitter ablaze at the end of last year when she made a special guest appearance on Albert Square. She's a national treasure. Make some noise for the legendary Lisa Geoghan. Have a seat.
Hello.
Great to meet you in person.
I feel like I've met you, but obviously we haven't actually met.
Oh.
Oh, it's lovely being here.
EastEnders.
Oh,
well, there was a bit of fun in your family over this, wasn't there?
Honestly, it was hilarious. In my house, it was kind of like maybe the best thing that had ever happened. So I get this tiny part on EastEnders, and I'm thrilled to go and do it. And I think, oh, yeah, lovely day out. It was during COVID, so I didn't meet anyone. I didn't get my hair done. And we were on location. But anyway, did it, really enjoyed it. Came home. They swear you to secrecy on EastEnders. You have to have a code for a code for a code to find out what your lines are going to be and all sorts. Anyway, so I said to my husband, we won't say anything to anyone. We won't tell the kids. We just won't mention it because it's so little. I don't want everyone going, oh, is that it? You know what it's like. They're going, oh, are you in it again? So I just thought, I won't say anything. So anyway, it's New Year's Eve, it happened to be. It's going out on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, we were going out, so I recorded it. Next morning, Oliver, my big boy, who's 20, he's home from uni, and me and him watch EastEnders, like it's our thing. So he's like saying, right, family day, New Year's Day, we're watching Soccer AM, then we're watching EastEnders, yeah, family day, his day, family day, Soccer AM, EastEnders, and then a movie. I can't remember what the movie was, Beverly Hills Cop or something that he loves.
Sounds like a great day.
Yeah. So my youngest, Harry, who's 15, has got no interest in basically anything on the telly. He wants to be on his games console talking to his mates the whole time. So Oliver had talked him into this family. They come on, Harry, we're all going to be together. So we're all on the sofa, we watch Soccer AM, and now comes EastEnders. So I was thinking, oh, this is going to be so funny, they're going to freak. So anyway, EastEnders comes on, and Harry's sitting there like, oh, because he's been forced by Oliver to watch it. Oh, who's that? I don't get it. I'm so confused. Every 3 minutes, all you can hear is Harry saying, I'm so confused. And you can hear, it's a running commentary with Oliver saying, oh, that's Janine. She's a bitch. Oliver, she's evil. Oh, and there's Phil, Harry, and going through this commentary the whole time. Anyway, so I know it's my little bit coming up now. So I just sort of squeezed Michael's hand because he's sitting next to me. So we sort of don't look at the screen, we're looking at them. And you hear my voice first, and you just hear both of them, their heads just both go to me, and then they look back at the screen, and then you just hear Oliver going, what the I'm Oliver! And Harry's going, I'm so confused now, I'm really confused. But they absolutely went mad. I mean, they were like hugging me. And my husband actually said to him, I must have heard him say it about 7 times, Mummy has been on the telly before. And they're like, no, because where they were so little, to them it's just, anything in the past doesn't, it could be 1,000 years ago. It doesn't count. So to actually see me, and I thought, oh my God, look how they're reacting. It was a great day. They loved it. It's really good fun for us.
I mean, for you both, your boys, what is the bill to them? Like, what do they make of the fact that everyone in this room knows you're legends?
I tell them that I'm a legend and they don't believe me. Yeah. Your mums used to be cool.
Yeah, my two, they're not fussed, except for EastEnders, the one part, yeah. But yeah, they're not really. I force them to watch it sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, just watch this. There's talking to me mate on the thing. So yeah, they're not really that impressed by it all.
My two we have the bill on sometimes. You know, if there's a big episode and somebody's texting me to go, you're on. It's usually you or someone.
Yeah.
It's a big episode of yours, so I'll put it on and I'll see what the kids do. But they're just not. They don't really get it. I don't think. No. Whether they're too young, because they're 11 and 7. Whether they're too young, I don't know. But I remember when Douglas was little, and I'm sort of doing ironing or something in the lounge, and I heard him go, oh, Mummy's on the telly. And I thought, oh, turn round. And it was Nanny McPhee. And it was the bit where she's dead ugly at the beginning. And I was like, yeah, thanks for that. Oh, so that's what I get.
I remember when Oliver was young and he was coming home from school, and it must have been year 6 because he was allowed to walk home alone. It was like the first day he's walking home alone from school. It's only round the corner. So he's walking home, he got in, we were waiting at the door because it's a big day, him walking the 3 steps home. And, whoa, big boy, he walked home, da-da-da-da. He said, yeah, I was smiling at people, but nobody smiled back. We were like, whoa, what do you mean you're smiling at people? Why would you smile at people? He said, well, because when we walk home from school, everybody smiles and says, oh, hello, all right. And I thought, oh, my God. I said, oh, Oliver, that's because they've seen me on the telly back then. He said, well, don't. He said, but you said you didn't know him. So I just smile at people. I said, oh, my God, this is so confusing, explaining it to him. Because he was little, but then he realised he's a bit more savvy now, thank God.
When you guys were working together on the bill had returned to its original hour-long format, and you were working together through 2 sort of seismic changes in the bill. You had executive producer Richard Hanford, who brought the regular characters, to the front and centre of the stories. And then Paul Marquess took the show even further, and there was lots of drama in the station, as well as out on the streets. What are your memories of that time, that shift between the Hanford era and the Marquess era, and do you have a preference? Because these episodes are currently being shown on the Drama Channel now, and people are going mad for them. Suzanne's got it on Twitter, people saying, oh, this episode's on, Yeah.
The whole journey of the bill was brilliant, but I loved it when Richard Hanford was the producer.
Yeah, me too.
Did you? Yeah. Like when people say there's an open door, there really was an open door with Richard, wasn't there?
Yeah.
You could go in and say, he would tell you in advance where things were going. It wasn't a shock. He'd let you know what was happening. You could say, do you think that would really happen? And he'd say, oh, yeah, he'd listen.
Yeah.
He was brilliant, wasn't he?
He was.
You felt like he was really approachable. Michael Chapman, of course, was brilliant. And Paul Marquez, I didn't know that well because it was at the end, but he was still nice. But Richard... And I guess because Richard had been with us all the time, working before he was the producer, we kind of knew him on that level. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed it when it went to, suddenly, like, we've got a backstory, a little bit more soapy. Yeah,
I agree. I preferred the Richard Hanford's era. Yeah. For me, and I know my family would say, that's proper Bill. That's the proper Bill, that girl.
Yeah.
And for me, it was.
Yeah.
And I was really lucky enough to have really great storylines in both eras. But I just think it was, for me personally, it was just my opinion, when Paul Marquess came in, it was the sensationalism of the storylines. They just got a little bit silly. And for me, the bill was always, as John said earlier, standalone, all about the characters. And it was great having backstories because it gave the actors something to really get into. But at the same time, it just went a bit soft. And I was glad to leave before I ended up doing something like really ridiculous that I would have been cringing about. So, yeah.
Yeah, because it was like a little play, as Eric always says. You're doing it's a play. It's like a play for today.
Yeah.
But when Paul Marquez came in, it was so ongoing. You were filming a scene that related to something that you'd done 6 weeks ago, pick up shots, and it was all a little bit confusing, wasn't it? Because it was an ongoing storyline that maybe you left and then you come back to. And
Well, let's go from the hour-longs to the half-hours now and welcome up our next guest. A fantastic actor. I'm so excited to bring him up. He spent 475 of those half-hour episodes very much in the fast lane of Sun Hill. This year he's been back on stage in a national tour of A Murder Is Announced, and we've got a cheeky new film role to tell you about tonight as well. Ladies and gents, making his Misty Moon debut, make some noise for the phenomenal Tom Butcher!
Woo! Woo! Butcher! Butcher!
Hello,
Do
hello.
you want this?
Notice none of these actors are good with props.
Good evening, people.
Welcome to the Cinema Museum,
having
Tom.
me.
Got a brand new film coming out.
So I haven't really got a brand new film. I'm in a brand new film that someone else has got coming out. A guy called Jim Eves. He makes films with his own money and his own enthusiasm, well, and as much money as other people can give to him. And this one's a horror, mystery, thriller kind of thing called Apocalypse Box, about a very ambitious politician who puts his competitors into a room with a very ancient box that makes you think very carefully about what you might wish for. And it's filmed in Southampton, and I did some, the scenes I was involved in were in Southampton University, in the reception area where they got this kind of spaceship.
That's where my son is, Tom.
Yeah,
Southampton
it's an
University. I've seen
amazing
it. It's
building,
like
isn't it?
Yeah, it's
And we were
incredible.
filming it's like being inside a giant red insect.
Yes.
And very futuristic and very exciting, and I think it'll look fantastic.
Oh, wow, that's
So,
exciting.
and I don't know when it's coming out. It's I think it's still in the edit at the moment.
The Apocalypse
But,
Box
yeah.
coming soon.
We tried to get him to drop the Apocalypse Box, we thought was a
Yeah.
much better title, but I think for reasons I don't understand, he's attached to the. That's it. Right, Bill.
You've been back on stage?
I had been working with a company called Middle Ground Theatre Company for a long time, and I was playing Inspector Craddock in A Murder Is Announced, and we were halfway through a tour when all the lockdowns happened, so that got postponed, and then we went back out on tour for another 12 weeks. I love touring theatre. I loved that particular job, travelling all over the country, and we went to Ireland as well. And we worked in the Gaiety Theatre in Dublin, and they loved it, and they came in big numbers. There's nothing like being in a theatre when you got people in. It doesn't happen all that often, but when it does, it's worth it. It really is. Yeah, that tour's ended now because the rights have become available on the open market. That was the one Agatha Christie that was a kind of free-floating set of rights that Mike managed to secure for a certain number of years, and that. So they've gone to someone very wealthy who's going to put a lot of money behind it and make a lot of money from it, I should think.
I haven't told you this. I interviewed one of the longest-serving writers of the bill this year, Jonathan Rich. He wrote for 20 years on the bill. And when I asked him what some of his favourite characters were to write for, he said, well, the fun thing is that once you'd got the character Bibles, then you got a chance to go in and meet some of the actors. And he said, who I enjoyed writing for was Steve Loxton, because Tom Butcher is nothing like Steve Loxton. Once he'd met you, he realises what a great acting performance it is. And how much do you feel you had in common with Steve? What was he like to play?
Well, I should think probably Steve was the Gur in me. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, he must have been in there somewhere. It's just something that I probably decided it was best not to make that my predominant feature in private life, because I wouldn't have got very far. But no, I think I was a confused young lad. I think I had a weird kind of childhood, and there was a lot of turmoil and chaos around me when I grew up. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of turmoil in me that Loxton was a kind of therapeutic outlet for. Wouldn't surprise me at all, because I think the reason I got into acting in the first place was an English teacher thought that it would be a good way of giving my unruliness some kind of outlet.
Oh, wow.
I was in A Man for All Seasons, King Henry VIII, and I came on with yellow tights, and someone laughed in the audience, and I thought, yeah, that's okay, but I don't mind. I thought, oh, great result, I got a reaction. But yeah, I think I loved being in school plays, and that's where it all started. English teacher got me up out of my desk and said, be in a play. I said, yeah, okay. It was the only thing I didn't mind going back to school for after school finished. Before that, it was detention, and I didn't like it. But once we went back for rehearsals, I'd go back at a drop of a hat, stay there all night rehearsing and trying to figure out why people did the things they did. That's the joy. That's the joy of the rehearsal process. Why does people do this? Why did he do that? Why has he not got a line here? Surely he should be saying something. Why is he shut up? Yeah, just the mystery of why people behave the way they do. It's fascinating.
When we recorded a commentary together for the podcast, we looked at an episode called The Chase, which is a great Loxton episode. And in true generous fashion, you didn't talk about your own performance. You praised that of Chris Ellison as Burnside. I know quite a funny story of your first scene working with Chris. I wondered if you'd be up for sharing with us.
Well, I was very nervous. He was a hero of mine because I'd seen the bill and I thought, Burnside, he is the bill. He is the famous face that everyone associates the bill. I did, certainly. And I had a scene where I had to walk up a corridor with a sheaf of notes for him and say, oh, sorry, I've got the notes or whatever. And I was very nervous because it was one of my early scenes. And he decided he was going to play a joke on me. And I came round the corner to present him with this sheaf of notes. So, Sarge, I've got and he had "fuck off" written on his closed eyes. And I just completely dissolved. I didn't know what to do. But I thought what a lovely thing that he thought that I was prankable.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the greatest compliment anyone could give me, that he thought I'm prankable like that.
Welcome
or maybe
aboard.
He just didn't give a shit. But that was one of my early moments of memory for Chris Ellison. Do you as well?
Not that one, but Louise had a cold sore. Just a little cold sore. She had it on her chin. She came in, there's a big drama. He got a broom. I mean, she was all obviously self-conscious. We were all saying, you can't notice it, you can't see it. He got a broom, put makeup on the broom, and stood with the broom going, you need some of this. And she was nearly crying. It was so funny.
My huge thanks to Stuart and Jen Morris of Misty Moon Events, Phil Clark and Graham Gurtner of the Cinema Museum, plus both Martin Rudman and Andrew Ruff for your support on the evening, and of course our huge gratitude to the legends of the Bill and a very appreciative audience. Tickets for the Bill Reunion 8 can be purchased from cinemamuseum.org.uk. The headline guest will be PC Tony Stamp himself, the mighty Graham Cole OBE, and the reunion will be taking place on Saturday the 15th of April 2023 at the Cinema Museum in London. The closest tube station is Kennington. Also, tickets for Suzanne Maddock from Liverpool to London via the rest of the world can be purchased from phoenixartsclub.com. This very special show will be taking place at 3 o'clock on Saturday, 29th of January 2023 in the Phoenix Arts Club. That's between Tottenham Court Road and Leicester Square tube stations. Over half of the tickets have already gone, so don't miss out on this very special one-off show. There'll be more to come in part 2 of this Christmas special trilogy, which will be launching on Christmas Day. And we'll be picking up with a Q&A continued with producer Tony Virgo, original cast member Ashley Gunstock, and our guest of honour on the night, Mr. Eric Richard, taking to the stage and joining the lineup. Oh, and we might have had a special surprise guest on the evening as well. You'll have to look forward to that next week as well. In the meantime, I'll hand you over now to the dulcet tones of the annoyingly handsome Mr. Ben Payton.
Hello, this is Ben Payton, and you have been listening to the Bill Podcast, produced and presented by Oliver Crocker. Co-produced by Ben Adams, Sarah Kuiper, Alex Mockler, Laura Pinney-Fay, and Simon Wolfe. Executive produced by Ben Ashmore, Joseph Beaver, Daniel Christopher, Alana Dewar, Andrew Dyack, Paul Dunn, Dan Evans, George Fairbrother, Luke Hegarty, Edward Kellett, James Ledane, Simon McGoldrick, Lucy McNeil, Gary Moncur, Stuart and Jen Morris, Claire Norbury, Tom Sherrington, Angel Stannard, Patrick Stratford, Michael Weil and Sarah Wendt. Brought to you in association with GeorgeFairbrother.com, McGoldrickWatchRepairs.com and Misty Moon Events. For over 60 hours of exclusive The Bill related content, including reunion highlights, reaction videos, cast and crew commentaries, pilgrimage location videos, off-the-beat bonus podcasts and much more, join the investigation from £2.49 a month at patreon.com/The Bill Podcast.